Hello, we are back with another episode of Elephants in the Practice Room. You're here with Sarah and Jolene.
Jolene, hi.
Jolene, I want to clarify before we get into our topic really quickly
Hey,
how you
already.
actually say your name.
Jolene.
Jolene. Okay, but
Yeah.
it's Jolene. Because I think a lot of people hear it and they think Jolene, and it's J-A,
It
right?
is.
Not
It's
J-O.
J-A. And
Okay,
in the South, I get a lot of Jaylene, and I just kind of
right.
stopped correcting because it's not a big deal to me anymore. It used to be a really big deal, but I usually try to explain it. When people ask clarifying questions, I appreciate. I'll say it's like Janine, only with an L. And then they're like, oh, we get it. So,
That's a good way
yeah.
to go about it. Okay, cool. All right, so today's topic, we are tackling auditions. And this is auditions of all shapes and sizes for all ages. The stuff that we wish people had told us ahead of time. All the things we wish we knew before we started taking auditions of any kind. So this could be, relevant to middle school age, high school, college, all the way up through professional and to this day.
Competitions, any type of
Competitions.
audition.
Yep.
Right.
It's all
Yes.
all relevant. So why don't we just jump right in? Jolene actually had this idea for this specific topic, which I thought was really great. And we've broken it down into several elements. We feel we both agreed that we were pretty well prepared in our training
Musically.
for the musical elements, right?
Yeah.
To, learn the rhythm and the tempo
Notes,
and
and they're very clear for wins, intonation expectations, rhythm, musical, especially orchestra excerpts. You're expected to know what's happening in the orchestra. You know how to do mock auditions and set that up. Like, that was fine. We learned how to do all that. I think most music schools do a pretty good job of setting
Mm-hmm.
you up for the technical, the literal part of the playing. But what do you wish your teacher leaned in on that you had to find out by yourself in your 30s after lots of tears that you talk to your students about?
Yeah.
You go
So,
first.
right. Okay, so we've got a list of 5 things here that we kind of want to touch on. So number 1 is the physical component.
Okay. I have my own
So
thoughts on that.
go.
Go ahead and
You
start.
go.
Oh,
No,
okay.
you go ahead. It's cool.
So I think you know a little bit about this, but I also, like, through my 30s, I did a lot of triathlon, and I did a lot
Right.
of triathlon coaching as well.
Amazing.
And I saw that there was a lot of like correlation to
Mm-hmm.
preparing for triathlon and preparing for an audition. And during that period of my life of doing that physical stuff, it was really clear to me that there were elements that were missing in my musical education, or maybe they hit it and I just wasn't paying attention. That could happen. But
Mm-hmm.
things like, before you have a triathlon, before you have a race, 2 days before, you're actually thinking about your sleep. And it's not the day before, because the day before, you're going to have a hard time sleeping anyway. And the same thing for auditions. So I think locking into, proper rest the week of your audition is a small thing that's overlooked. And I wish that we had talked more about sleep specifically. This is dumb, but we're in Texas and it's 100 degrees, but hydrating properly
Mm.
the week of, hydrating properly the week of your audition or your race, and it's not just the day before. It's
Right.
several days before. In an audition, as oboists, when we get nervous, our heart races, but we also, if your reed is slightly too hard, nerves, if your blood sugar is low, we start to get these little, like, sometimes people get dizzy. Sometimes people get the little, like, the wooziness.
Mm-hmm.
And I find a lot with middle schoolers that don't have a lot of experience with this. So, and I was just teaching this morning, and we were talking about their region audition is coming up in 2 months, and how, the week before or 2 weeks before, we're going to do a master class and talk about how to take care of your body going into something like this. And I don't know about you, but I don't remember learning how to take care of my body going into an audition.
I agree.
Yeah. What else? Physically, I mean, being kind to yourself, eating the same food, that's a good one. Don't, it's not the right time to go out and try that new Mexican restaurant.
Mm,
It's right because you don't know if something's going to react badly in your stomach. So eating the same food that you're used to that you know works well. What
hmm.
about you?
So I wanted to kind of touch into what you just said, about making sure that your rest and your nutrition are on point, or and your hydration are on point that week. I totally agree. However, if you're not used to drinking half your body weight in water and all of a sudden you start doing it,
Don't
you're
do
going to
anything
have,
new.
right.
Right.
So I think trying to build this into the preparation, like all along the way, all
Of
along the
course.
journey, is definitely important. I would say that's a huge deal to think about. Likewise, if you're really stressed about trying to get the sleep right and trying to get all of these things right, it's also more likely to cause more stress, which is then going to cause poor sleep, which is going to cause, maybe some other issues in your body, right? So if we're talking about it from a physical standpoint, like thinking about it in those terms. So what I would say is I would say try and pick one thing now that will serve you better in your preparation for your next competition, your next audition, whatever you're preparing for, and try and build that into your everyday life, and to pick something small, right? So, like if you're trying to, let's say you're sleeping 5 hours a night right now, and you're trying to, increase to 7 or 8, to expect yourself to say, okay, I'm going to bed at 10 tonight, and you usually go to bed at midnight. No, it's not happening, right? You're going to lay awake staring at the ceiling. It's not happening. So like trying to like walk yourself back from that by like 10 minutes. Like, okay, I will be in bed by 11:50 tonight, something like that. And then only saying like I'm going to do it tonight. So building those small habits and just saying I'm doing it today, right? Not I'm going to do it all week, just today, and then celebrating that one thing.
Small habits. I mean, that's how you prepare hard musical things. You break it in and you do the little small things, and then you keep adding.
Great.
And
Yeah.
I tell my students, like, we can do one thing. We can do a small thing.
Right.
And
Right.
that's progress. That counts. That counts.
Well, and it's also about, think about you're trying to, as a musician, you develop this technique, this way of playing, right? And isn't part of the reason why you're developing this technique so that it supports you when you get into the oh shit moment, right?
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
you're like really ready to like to take on, you're never trying to play at your 100% because your technique's supporting you through it. Like you want to ultimately be playing at your like 50-60% like max, right? And so that that you have more to give. Likewise, if you're building in these habits along the way and building them into your lifestyle, then you're never going to have to like not be practiced in that element of your performance. In other words,
Right.
is it making sense what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
like you're not going to go out on stage in harp shoes that you bought that
Yeah.
morning. You're going to
Right.
be gear that you've used to, that's tried and
Right.
true, that you're
Yep.
comfortable in. And
Comfortable in,
that's
right? So clothes are an extension of your physical self, right? So what are your thoughts on clothes for auditions?
my thoughts for clothes and auditions are do not wear anything new on audition day. And not only don't wear anything new, don't wear anything that you have not already performed in.
Love
Because,
that. Love that.
you go out and you get a new suit and you're like, oh, this looks so sharp in the dressing room. And then you go to wear it for your audition and you're like, ooh, the shoulders are a little tight. I can't quite like
Mm-hmm.
play the way
Move
I
the way you're
want
used to.
to.
Yep.
Right. So, and again, that kind of bleeds back into the triathlon race day training. You're not going to go grab a new pair of shoes the day before you run a marathon. Um, In the Army, we have this saying that I use, and I actually use a lot in my teaching, and it's
Hmm.
called you train how you fight.
Sure.
And in music, you do everything that you do in the practice room is what's going to show up on audition day. That counts for clothes, that counts for food, that
Mm.
counts for, you know, sleep. And if you're training yourself to sleep well, that's what's going to happen on audition day. So, clothes,
Or more likely to.
or, well, it would, yes, more likely to, at least
Yeah.
you're being mindful
Right.
of those habits, that
Yeah.
not everything is about your musical preparations.
Absolutely.
It's just not, and the people that are winning are, yes, they're wonderful musicians, but they're so confident in their routines and their habits that they've bought in. They've done all these mock auditions. They know exactly what jacket they're going to wear. They know exactly the temperature of the room. They've done their recon. They knew how to get to the gig. We talked about
Hmm. Hmm.
arriving with time and settling in. They probably
But
know what they're going to eat the night before an audition. We all have our things.
right, right. Can I kind of push back on that though?
Please.
You don't really know what the temperature is going to be, right?
You
So
don't.
that for
So
me
you
is a
have to
big
prepare
deal.
in different
Right. And
temperatures.
so, right, preparing in different temperatures is really good. Another thing I do though is I always dress in layers. Always bring layers and
You do. And you've
options.
got those cool like arm things that you
Yeah,
wear.
yeah, the wrist
Yeah.
warmer things, and I've got the fingerless gloves and all that, you know. But
Yeah.
ultimately, it's about, of course, this is a different component, but all of this is going to go back to your. We can kind of just bring this in now, the psychosocial element. Well,
What does that mean?
before we go there,
That's fancy.
actually,
That's fancy.
before we go there, let's touch one more element of the physical that I don't want to make sure we don't want to miss. So, likewise, like your triathlon training and any kind of athletic training, music is incredibly similar in that we talk a lot about injury, and truthfully the way that most injury happens in one of two ways, right? It's either there's some accident, some major traumatic event, or it's a load issue, too much too soon.
Ah,
Over a short period of time, the body's not prepared for it. So the body can actually do lots of really impressive things in lots of different crazy positions, but if the tissues aren't prepared for that load, it's gonna break down, it's gonna have a problem, right? And so, deciding that you're going to do a competition or prepare for something ahead of time is incredibly important. And knowing that you're going to incrementally increase your practice and your time, not just your physical energy, but your mental energy, your emotional energy toward this thing is going to increase over time. And so that you're doing it in, again, a sustainable, healthy way, so that you're not just setting yourself up for this like 6 weeks of crazy hell and then all of a sudden, your body breaks down, right? Likewise to the triathlon.
I'm writing a couple things down because I have some
Good.
bets too.
I bet that you also taper, right?
Yes.
You would teach people to
Yes.
taper. Right.
Yes.
So
Do you taper
likewise,
in music things?
yes, I
I've
do.
never considered
Yes,
that.
I
Wait,
do.
wait, wait, wait.
Yes, I do.
So, okay,
Because
discuss.
you either know it or you don't.
Right. But what
Like,
is a taper? Okay, so I'll clear in my world, in a few years ago, Jalene's world, marathon tapering or triathlon tapering. So the idea is you are in your absolute peak form 2 weeks before your big event. And these were endurance events, like long,
yeah, yeah.
10 plus hour events. So that way, so when you taper, the taper is the idea is not that you're losing fitness. You are losing a little bit of fitness, but you're recovering from all the grind. So it's bringing your the health back to your body. So even though all the fatigue that you've been building up, right? Mental fatigue, muscle fatigue, all right, that's at its peak 2 weeks before. Then you lighten the load by usually, a third of the work that you're doing. And you're going to lose just a tiny bit of fitness. The fitness doesn't drop as quickly as the fatigue drops. All right. And then you're at peak. You should be feeling like you're ready to be exploded out of a cannon, right?
Yeah.
And it should line up. So, but it is very thoughtful. Now, tell me about your audition tapering, because I'm not gonna lie, I've been playing for a long time. I've never come across that, and I'm glad that we're talking about it. So, what you
Yeah.
got?
Interesting how we've,
Is
known
this
each other
real?
for this
You didn't
long.
make this up.
No. I
It's a real
mean,
thing.
I don't know if other people do it, but yes, I do it because
That's why we're
again,
talking about this. Great.
I've learned that you're going to, again, it's about how much energy are you expending on this. And if you're just like trying to run through your whole program the few days before, like it's going to be too much. Now, okay, I'm talking about like a big huge audition list, right? Yes, I'm talking about that. So what I would probably do is I would probably do some more listening, closer up to. I would probably do things that are creative, more like I would listen to the music and I would draw.
Okay.
I would
So you're still filling your blood essentially with the audition excerpts, right?
Yes. But from a physical standpoint, I would definitely step away. I would probably start and end like key sections. I would probably, check in. I would make sure that I'm doing a really good job with that hydration, with that the diet perspective. But a larger component for me is the stress reduction the week before. And
Right.
So
it's your taper window is a week before
I would
the
say
audition.
It's more of a week.
Okay.
Yes, because you don't, at this point too, it's either you know it or you don't, because you've been preparing it for so long. Now, if you're doing this as a crash thing, you may want to set it up a little differently, but ultimately, yes, you need that break. I mean, think about when when you're doing any kind of training, if you just do it day after day after day after day, you need that rest, you need that fatigue. And then a lot of times on the rest days, you're like feeling guilty, you're feeling like, oh, I could be in there, I could be doing this.
You're also feeling like antsy, like physically antsy.
Physically antsy. But
so what do when you're antsy?
Go
when
for a
your teacher
walk.
says, okay, go to Target and get the new pumpkin spice latte?
No, because there's so much sugar in that, but sorry.
Of course you would say that.
It's the truth.
One is okay.
That's not going to help you.
You can go for a walk after. No,
make your own at home.
What if it just brings you joy? Yeah.
Then find out a way to make it at home, because you're getting 3 days of sugar in that.
I think everybody, what Sarah's saying is at the end of this episode, she's going to post her version of a pumpkin spice latte in the comment section.
I could do that.
Okay, there you go.
I mean, I've honestly never made one, but I could come up with something, sure.
Okay.
Anyway,
back to auditions.
Likewise, I agree. I think, so larger point here is that we have been trained to like go pedal to the metal to the very last minute, but I think this dovetails nicely into your other point that you wanted to make of your audition, and the outcome of your audition is not the worth.
Yep. So I've had a lot of teachers. I've had some lovely, loving teachers. I've had some grind teachers, and at the end of the day, wish that somebody, and again, maybe they have said these things, but as a student, I didn't really receive them, maybe, or the importance of this. I'm sure I've had some teachers say the audition's not the end of the world, but I would have loved if somebody looked me straight in the eye, when I was having a crash out in a lesson, and say, listen, no matter what happens, this audition does not dictate your worth as a human and your worth as a musician. And at the end of the day, you're going to wake up tomorrow, and do you still love playing your instrument? Do you still love being in an orchestra? There's going to be another audition. One of my teachers was actually really cool. She would say, because for oboists, the read is everything for the audition. Weeks before, you're making reads, trying to find the one read that can play a Mozart articulation light enough, but also has a beautiful sound and can project Brahms, and that will allow you to give the vibrato and be as expressive and flexible, but also it needs to have some resistance to play, to blow out against. So reads are everything. And my teacher, this is Barbara Lafitte at Berklee College of Music. She said, well, you only need one read. You only need one read that's gonna like do the job. And a lot of teachers were like, you have to learn how to play well on all of your reads. You have to take the crappiest read and be okay to play on it because conductors aren't going to look at your reads. They just want to know, are you doing the things you need to do? So, an audition, if you bomb, nobody cares. I mean, you're out a lot of money, but you're going to wake up the next day and hopefully you have people that support you and, you have a cat to come home to who still loves you. It is not the be all end all. There are other auditions. There's always something else. It's never going to go away. All right. I
Can
just
I
wish that
stop you
that was
right there?
really hammered into me. Yeah.
What does it mean to bomb an audition?
Okay. I'll have an example. I'll give, and I hope that you have some examples too. I'm sure you've never bombed. I didn't bomb. So there's like, you go into an audition, you're super prepared, and something weird happens, right? That you're like, oh my gosh, that's never happened before. That's life, and that happens. If you're as prepared as you can be, there's nothing more you can do, okay? I had an audition right out of grad school. It was up in Canada, and my husband drove me. And I was tired, and the travel had taken a lot out of me. I was not in my best like form. Musically, I was prepared. I remember going in there, and the first excerpt they pulled was the oboe excerpt from the Brahms Violin Concerto. And dee da da, you know it. It's super famous. The very first note is a high A, and I cracked it. The very first note of the entire audition, and then every excerpt that they called after that, I was like, I don't even know why I'm here. Like, obviously, that's done. I would call that bombing because that was, I had a lot of invested in it and I wasn't crushed. I wasn't devastated, but I mean, that happens. You bombed it, but guess what? I still went out to dinner and had a nice time with my husband. And
But was the definition of bombing it for you, was it because you cracked the A? Was it because you didn't move on to the next round? Was it because you couldn't move past the cracked A in your head?
it could be any of those things. And these are really mature questions. Thank you. It could be any of those things. I mean, it's what do you define success as a
Right.
musician?
That's what I'm
If
trying
you
to get
are
at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you are as prepared and you've done everything possible to prepare for yourself. So, okay, a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, she posted on social media her goals for her studio this year, and one of them I'm going to steal. And it's not just about music, but it's like you can have all of me or you can have none of me. And that just hit in so many different ways because at this age right now that I'm at, I'm not taking a lot of auditions, right? If I'm going to take an audition, it's going to be with the intention of I'm going to win, I want to move here, this is the job. Um, but I would have told my past self because I tend to be more of like a musical player than like that's my strength than the most perfect technical player. Like my fingers aren't fast, I can get the job done. But I get the most satisfaction from gigs and auditions when I am just playing and doing what I do. And I think I would have told past Jolene, just go out there and make music in your way. And there are certain technical things that you have to hit. You can't miss notes. You can't play out of tune. You have to have some dynamic expression. But if I'm sitting on a panel, as a judge, the first thing I'm going to look for is somebody that stands out as like, this person really knows what they want to say with the music. And I think if I went into an audition and I played my way, you know, within reason, obviously. Like the tempos have to be relatively set, but like if I really just did it my way, I could walk out of there at the end of the day and I'm like, if that's not what they're looking for, then I'm not the right person for them. And
Yeah.
good luck to whoever they choose. But then that feels honest and that feels like I gave my all. I was authentic to who I am because how, you know, how can you tell really how a person is going to play during the season based on like, a page of just little snippets of excerpts, right?
Sure.
I mean, they're not going to play out. They're not going to be as express. I mean, the people that do win, they're the people that treat it like, if I'm really sitting in an orchestra and I'm playing this Ravel Tombeau de Couperin, it feels so much different playing it in orchestra than it does behind a screen at an audition. So winning and success for me at this stage, which I wish I had really considered earlier, would be, did I represent myself honestly on the stage? Was that who I really am from the practice room, instead of just like the black and white, get the Mozart exactly at 116, that kind of playing? Is that answering your question? So
Yeah,
like
I
bombing is, depends on how much you have
well,
writing on it and what your thoughts were. Are you taking an audition just to practice an audition, or are you taking it to like win? Your intention
well,
matters.
right. And I think that's really important. Like knowing what metric you're trying to achieve, right? And I think sometimes my point is with this, what's the definition of bomb? Like, if you don't win this job, are you going to just think that you're just like
Am I going to
totally
quit?
done? Are you
Yeah.
going to be really, really down on yourself and upset? Of course, it makes sense that
It's okay
you're
to
going
be
to be
disappointed.
upset. Yeah. But if you can set, like when I talk to students about playing, an audition or just a recital or whatever, setting some kind of intention for your performance, whether it's not to win or to be the best or whatever, because it's just so nebulous and you don't have control over that. You don't.
Hmm.
So
And
what do you have control over? You have control
your
over
preparations.
your preparation, but your standard of what you're trying to achieve, right? And so something like, I'm going to play the most musical audition I can today, or I'm going to play this piece the cleanest I've ever played it, or I'm going to make sure that I stay in control of my breathing while I'm playing. The small metrics.
Those small wins are wins.
Yeah. And if we set, right. So, like, reframing success is really important in these
I
situations.
I love that so much. I'm going to steal that too. Let's like
Yeah.
reframe. Like the success doesn't necessarily have to be in winning the job, even if that's your intention, because we want jobs, right?
Sure.
It could be anything, you know? It could be like, this was your very first audition. You were super nervous and your hands were shaky and you did it anyway. Were you brave? That's
Right.
a win.
Right.
That's a
It's
win.
incredible
That's what I
win.
talk about with my middle schoolers, like who have never done auditions. It's scary, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So
You were
maybe for
brave, you
them,
showed up. Maybe just
right.
showing up is the
Maybe
win.
just showing up is the win, right? Maybe, starting and ending the piece. You did it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You didn't quit. You didn't
Right.
like walk off the stage halfway through. I mean, I've seen
Right.
people do that.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's sometimes,
It takes a
if
lot.
you've got a lot of stuff going off at home and you still want to show up and do the best that you can in that moment, maybe just like, you know, being scared and doing it anyway is your
Right.
win.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's
And
awesome. Do
I
you
think
have do you have any audition stories? What was a bomb for you? What do you think a bomb is? Or maybe you have student stories.
I think part of why I taper and why I put effort toward drawing or toward listening or whatever is so that I'm getting off the black and white page and the technical side of it and developing what you said, which was go out there and play you versus play what you should play, quote, or what they're looking for, quote.
Cookie cutter.
Yeah, like think outside the box and be able to be expressive, because the auditions or the competitions or the performances that I've done that and I've really been myself have always gone the best. Like,
Yeah.
some of them I have won or placed or whatever, and some of them I've just felt like, yeah, I was just really me. Okay. And and I think this also, I can just say, this extends into my teaching of Pilates. Like, I'm kind of this weird teacher. I know that people think I'm weird half the time, that I'm all like into
They
all
do
this.
not. Really?
Well, I'm just saying, like, they're not used to the fact that I have all this crazy choreography that I do a lot of times just to challenge their brain and stuff. Because, you get into a routine, a rhythm, whatever. And I think that, there's a lot of dueling thought on that, like, you should only teach this way or that way or whatever, right? In Pilates, especially right now, it's very much like different camps of people, and it's bad. It's bad. Anyway, which is very similar to music, which we'll get into another time.
Yeah.
So, but the point there is the times that I just let myself be myself and let myself be that teacher and let my creativity enter into the room versus, just playing it, quote, like it is. Those are the times that I'm enjoying it, and that people end up actually feeling that energy and wanting to come back. And I would hope that that's how, competition panels are functioning these days. I can't speak to that necessarily, but I do know that it makes a difference, for a lot of people in that way. And at the end of the day, you're going to leave and have had a lot more fun. So why not just try it that way?
I remember last time I had fun at an audition, but I understand what you're saying 100%.
Well,
Just
I think
leave feeling like, wow, that was a really good audition for me. And, I think that's what you're talking about. Like I had fun.
Your level of
just going
success
for it
was there. Your version of success was there.
Mm-hmm.
I think this kind of dovetails into, how can you emerge from an audition having had fun, or a performance having had fun? It's being able to be authentically yourself. And honestly, if you're not training that on a regular basis, why should you expect yourself to bring that to an audition or performance, right? And so this gets into all of the psychosocial elements, which I was kind of talking about a little bit about earlier, and then I went back to the physical element. They're all interconnected, right? And so, your social life, how are things at home? The things that bring you the energy to and the joy, are those showing up in your everyday life? Because if they're not, and then you have to go do all this work on top of it, and it's your big stressor, then being able to find joy over here is going to be a whole lot harder. Does that make sense? What were you going to say?
Yes, absolutely. Well, one of the notes I wrote down was, as you were talking earlier, was something, again, I just want to I'm clarifying it for myself. Something that I wish was stressed during when I was learning how to take auditions is that network that you talked about. And I'm not just talking about a network of other musicians that you go to play like mock auditions for, but you're hopefully, you have some kind of family. Hopefully you have some kind of friend group. For me, I found the older I got, if I communicated my expectations of what the next 4 months was going to look like with my husband, he is able to show up for me in the way that I need, or even necessarily don't know that I need. Like a lot of times he was like, hey, I haven't seen you drinking water today. Like you're trying to build that in, or hey, we're not going to bug mom with homework tonight. She needs to go to sleep because, she's got a mock audition in the morning. So I think bringing in people, not necessarily for accountability, but just so you're not alone, even if they're not musicians. I think that wasn't really addressed initially when I was younger with, going out on this audition circuit, is the importance of, just because it can be so isolating. And about isolating as a harpist, when you're grinding for an audition, you're alone. You're alone in a space and for hours and hours, and you're locked in. And if you can, get your friends or your family on board, hey, check out on me. I might be a little cranky. It's not you. I'm going through this. And I didn't do that. I took it all in, and I took it all in until I couldn't take it in anymore. And then, then you unravel. And
I think that's so wise. Like, I think,
well, that's what we do in triathlon.
Right. Reaching out and finding the support from musicians, but also from non-musicians too, right? Because it's important to get that break of not thinking about music and not talking in musical terms and all of this and that, or people even asking you how it's going. It's maybe you just want to go watch a movie and not feel guilty about it. Maybe you need to go, just spend 5 minutes out in the sunshine, right?
Or you go to a movie, but your head is still in the practice room going over your
Right.
Mozart.
Right.
And the people you're with are like, you don't want to hang out with me. And so I think communicating what you're going through in the moment, like, hey, I want to go to the movie. My head's off. This isn't about you. I really want to go. I need to. So
Yeah.
just be patient with me. Or, tell me that I can do it. And like, can you be my hype girl this week? And you and I do that with each other too. Like
Yeah.
when we've got a gig or something coming up, before any big gig, Sarah and I will text each other, hey,
Mm-hmm.
you know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Slay, right?
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
you've got this.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people have, not everybody has that set up in their life that they're communicating how important this audition is or something to have people, you know, send you
Support
the high
them.
fives. Yeah, yeah. And it's, you know, I want that. I want that for my kids. I want that for myself. I want that for my students. And I think having a good studio set up that's not just competitive, that is a team.
Right.
Teams do better. You and I do better when we're together,
Right.
And so, yeah.
Yes. I think
But like
that's a
there's
great.
also groups. There's groups too, like online groups and
Mm-hmm.
things to talk about. And like you're setting up something like that too, right?
Yes, I
Like
am.
a network. Yeah.
Yeah. I was
But what
wondering.
was your vision about that? Like
Yeah. The
it's
whole
super
thing.
important.
Right. The whole thing is to set aside a space for people, and it would just be a Zoom call where people could just meet up and meet other people and just be supported. So that's coming. We do have a group chat right now that's about to start, or actually, by the time this airs, it will have started.
Oh, okay.
And so we have a group chat that is available on Instagram, and it's for this exact kind of thing.
I didn't even know Instagram did group chats.
Yeah.
So not like video calls, but like the old school
No,
like
no, it's just like, yeah,
email.
actually like typing, just typing, just
That
typing.
sounds that sounds cool. Okay,
Or sorry,
send me
typing,
an invite to
typing the thumbs. My thumbs are moving now. Like on the phone. Yes. All
that.
right.
Okay. That
Um,
sounds cool. That sounds cool. Like we can get back to. We'll talk
so
more about
yeah,
that
if you
later
want to
too. Then.
get on that, just find me on Instagram, just Studio Da Capo, and I can add you to the group chat, no problem.
Cool. All right. Cool.
But thanks for that plug, Jolene. All right,
It
so
wasn't intentional. It was like a
it's all good.
segue. Like,
It
but I knew
just
that you were talking about
worked.
something like that. I hadn't heard
Right.
about the details, so it just worked out.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, building in what brings you joy and also what gives you relaxation and restoration, right? So maybe for you that is reading by yourself. Maybe that is going and having coffee with a friend. Like one person might find one of those things incredibly invigorating and the other person might be like, "No way. So lame. Not for me." Like that's like boring to sit and read my book. Another person's like, yes, me time. And then the other person is like, yes, I really want to go hang out with this friend. And the other person's like, no, I just
No.
don't have any energy left, And I think it's different for different people. It depends
Sure.
on the day. It depends on the book. It depends on the person you're meeting up with.
I
I,
think your point is saying it's like it's required. It's not
yes,
optional.
yes.
And
Well,
by blocking that off,
it's
right?
required for for a better performance. Yes.
Right. But most people are like every day, 4 to 6 hours practice, every single day up until, and what I hear you saying is there's more to it than just the grind. Obviously, we talked about sleep and food, but
Yeah.
blocking off that recovery time and
Exactly. Yeah.
making it's not optional. Like taking a day off is freaking required. And I'm saying that out
Yeah.
loud for myself
Right.
because
Right.
myself, right? I say it, I don't necessarily do it all the time. I've been doing better though,
That's
especially
great.
because I have it, on Google.
Blocked off. Yeah.
But that's
Good.
scary. I remember I had an audition when I was up in Boston, and my parents came to visit, and they wanted to do this like duck tour. And do you know about the duck
Lord.
boats?
Yeah.
And,
No. No.
and I just remember thinking I was so distracted and feeling guilty that I couldn't enjoy this time with
Yeah. I
my
know.
parents. And
Mm,
you know what? I should have. And I probably would have had a better practice
Yeah.
if I let myself off the hook, gave myself a couple hours to go do something
Yep.
wonderful with my
Yep.
family instead of just, that anxiety. I mean, we haven't even talked about like
I
anxiety
know, right?
management. Yeah.
Well, right. But putting in the time that brings you the joy is part of that anxiety management. It is,
Exactly. Yes.
because
Dovetails.
it's bringing you that time to de-stress. And it's important to, take some of the stress out of your life by balancing things out a bit. So, okay, briefly let's touch, there's so much more to say there, but we're going to hit that in other podcasts, I'm sure. Do you have anything else to say about like the planning out component? I know like
I mean,
we've
I
talked
think
about that as
a
far as
lot of
like from
that
the
is
musical
addressed in
side.
like, yeah, the musical side. I mean, I think a lot of studios, at least the college level studios, are pretty good about building out essentially like your own personal syllabus of like
Mm-hmm.
this week is I
Yeah.
need to have these things at this tempo. By this week, I need to have this. And this is the week I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of mock auditions. I think colleges and studios are probably pretty good at helping kids think in that terms. And if they're not, then like just email me and we'll help you build a schedule
Mm-hmm.
for your
Mm-hmm.
audition. But it's not rocket science. But there's books out there that help with that too. That I wish I had it close by. I think it's called is it 6 weeks? Six
Mm-hmm.
weeks to your audition. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's written by a flute player,
Right.
and we'll put it in the notes. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was really helpful. I think I worked through that a few times,
Mm-hmm.
and then you kind of get on autopilot. But from building a schedule out, I think what would be missing is you build out how you're going to prepare musically,
Yeah.
but you don't build out how you're going to prepare your
Yeah.
body and your mind and your
Yeah.
spirit essentially.
Yeah.
And maybe even just including that, like literally writing it down, like
Yeah. I think it's
here's my
important.
day off and here's this
Yeah.
rest day, here's
Yeah. Now, likewise, one other thing that I haven't said explicitly, but I mean, I don't know why. I just think it, so I need to remember not everyone thinks this way. I didn't always think this way. You need to move your body every day to combat the
why
stress. To combat the stress because your body needs some kind of signal that you are beating the stress and the body needs that release. So doing something to get your heart rate up, to get your blood flowing is incredibly important. Not to mention, it's going to make playing so much easier when you are stronger, when you've got better breathing. It all around helps. And I am
I
testament number one, having gone from eating disorder, not being able to pick up my heart but put it in the car, to now being able to lift lots of heavy things.
well, I was just going to say, I remember over a year ago, you kind of started a new training routine for your body. You started lifting
Mm-hmm.
heavy.
Yeah.
And I remember one day we were rehearsing and you're like, wow, my playing is like really good. And I think it has to do with all the strength stuff that I've been adding. Like I'm
Yeah.
actually, you
Yeah.
verbalized it in the middle of rehearsal. I think this is making a real difference in my playing.
Yeah.
And you use your body a lot when you play as well. Like you're very physical,
For
but
sure.
you
For
were
sure.
even specific about your hands too. Like I remember.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
shoulders.
Yeah. I mean, it's
It
just
was
a
a thing.
lot. Like if your large muscle groups are trained, then you don't have to work as hard. Like if you can, it's, again, like the technique, we're training to support all of these movements that we're doing constantly. And, you know, essentially what you're doing, especially when you're lifting heavy, right? You're putting your body under intentional stress so that it knows what to do when you get in a stress situation.
Say
You're
it again for the people
exposing
in the
it,
back.
right? You're exposing it to stress on your own terms. And then when you get in the stressful situation later, it's like, oh yeah, we know how to handle this. So the heart rate doesn't get as
So
high.
you
And you,
train how you fight.
Right.
You're
And
using your body.
there you
And
go.
it knows how to respond.
Yeah, it knows how to respond. So your heart rate's not going to go up. You're not going to have to use as much of your strength and just your energy, your power, right? You don't have to work as hard. You just don't.
Mm, mm.
So anyway, okay, yes, it makes a big difference. Okay, so planning out ahead, planning intentionally, planning realistically. Now, can we talk real quick? I know we have a little bit of a time limit today on our
Okay.
chat, but
We're okay. This is real life. This is real life.
what about when you have your plan and of course you're not going to stick to it, of course. Like something's going to go awry, right? So just kind of knowing that I think is pretty key, but like what do you do when that happens? Do you have any thoughts on that?
If this was a student and you were asking me these questions, that's how I'm trying to frame it. I would just
Sure.
say, stuff happens. Get up and keep going.
Right.
You
Yeah.
missed a note. That's life. You got water in
Right.
your octave key. You're not going to get fired. You're human. Humans are
Mm-hmm.
messy. We are not perfect. We're not robots. I don't want you playing like a robot. You are different than I. We're messy. We're humans. Stuff happens, but there's a resiliency component to
Yeah.
there is to like picking yourself up, dusting yourself off and getting back on. We don't quit.
Right.
That's the difference here. We are gluttons for this musical punishment that we love.
Right.
And you're going to crash and cry about it, go get your ice cream, have your thing, and then we jump up and we do it again the next day because we are doing something that a lot of people can't do. And we bring joy to others, and we can make this super magical thing appear in the air that we can feel. And we can help people, and we have something to say. And that's awesome. That's an awesome superpower that we have. But dusting yourself off, get over it. You made a mistake, something went wrong. I'm sorry.
So
Get
I'm
over
gonna
it.
give you
Move forward.
I'm gonna give you like a
Real world
scenario.
example. Okay.
Like you were supposed to be at a specific tempo for this section and you just can't get it there right now.
Is this for an
Like
audition
yeah,
or a performance?
this is week 7 of 10 and you're not quite at your tempo that you're supposed to be at for week 7. It doesn't matter whether it's an audition or a performance. What would you do?
So I tell my students to meet themselves where they are. And if that's the tempo you're at, that's the tempo you're at. And you're not going to push it because under tempo and clean is going to beat fast and sloppy any day.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're at this tempo, that's where we are and we do our best. But you're not going to like double up and just say, well, I'm not at this tempo, so I'm going to skip ahead
Mm-hmm.
because then you're definitely not going to advance, But what if you play
Right,
something and
right.
it's a couple clicks slower, but the judges are like, ooh, I kind of like what they're doing there. Taking a couple
Mm-hmm.
clicks slower, like, really gives them room to, really hear that rubato happening.
Mm-hmm.
It just needs to be clean and it needs to be you. And you need to be honest. You need to be
Mm-hmm.
honest with yourself. This is not at 140 yet,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'm off pace. Maybe I'll make that up in the next couple weeks, but meet yourself where you are. Like, be honest with yourself of where you are, what you are capable of, realistic expectations, because stuff is going to come up and we have to pivot and you have to keep going. But yeah, I'll leave it like that.
All right. What happens? All right, give you another scenario. What happens if you have yourself on this schedule and then you get sick and you can't practice for 5 days?
This feels like a job interview. You're posing these like hypotheticals. Okay, so what happens if you get sick and you can't practice a week, right?
Yep.
That's your question, and you're in the
Yep.
middle of audition prep?
Yeah, or competition or whatever. You have to meet this deadline. How are you going to frame this in your mind?
I'm going to frame it in my
Practical.
mind as in my body comes first.
Hmm.
And especially coming off of COVID, right? We
Yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
have our like kind of COVID protocols
Mm-hmm.
that we do personally and professionally now. My body comes first. I need my body to recover
Mm.
because I can't be my best self musically if my
Mm.
body is not at 100%. All
Love
right.
that.
So
Love that.
viruses happen. COVID is back right now, by the way. All my kids are like sniffing, and so I'll
Mm.
probably have to bail on something of ours soon because of stuff. But
No, no, let's not put that in the air. No.
okay, I'm knocking on all the wood. I'm just saying, like, this is real.
Yeah.
People get
Yeah.
sick,
Yeah.
and
It
you
happens.
give yourself appropriate time to recover. And when you're ready, you disinfect your reeds, and
Mm-hmm.
then you start over again. And maybe you have backslid a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
that's where we are. That's what we can do about it. You focus on the things that you can control. You can't control to the extent of this conversation if you get a virus or not.
Right.
This is life. And we work with
Right.
kids and we work, you're this is the public.
Right.
But meet yourself where you are, be honest, and give yourself grace.
Yeah,
Give
lots of
yourself
grace. I think
grace.
that's one of the missing components of a lot of classical training is like there is more than one way to approach this. And,
That's
you
the whole
know,
point. That's what we're talking about.
yeah,
That's
right.
all of these things. There's these different ways
And
to
it's going
approach.
to
Well, what would
look different for everybody, right?
thank goodness it does.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to yourself or a student if you were 7 weeks out and your tempos weren't where they needed to be? What would you tell Anna? What have you told Anna? I know you've probably had this conversation.
Yeah, I mean,
Anna, Anna's my daughter. She studies
yeah,
harp with Sarah. They do competitions and they do lots of stuff for people who
yeah.
didn't catch that.
So we'll take the most recent example. You know, she's working on something for a an audition, and the tempo that is being requested, in my opinion, is too fast.
It doesn't sound good. Yeah,
No, it doesn't
it's
sound,
not realistically what you would play it at if
it
you were going
does
to perform
not,
it.
no, no, it doesn't sound interesting to listen to. There's no room for musicality. It is literally technical, technical, technical etude. Like there's no room for anything. And it's like even hard to process as a listener, right? So, you know, and she's having a hard time getting herself there. And I think part of the reason why, because we've talked about this from a technical standpoint and we have made a lot of strides, and I'm glad that, you know, we're working on this for a lot of reasons, for a lot of technical reasons, but ultimately, this student is a very musical player and does like to play her way. And I respect that, you know, within the guidelines, obviously, within boundaries, I should say. You know, I do appreciate that expression. And so what I said to her was, you know, let's keep trying. We have time to move this up to tempo. And ultimately, you have to ask yourself, am I okay placing, because see, the thing is you also have to know your competition, right? And I know this competition specifically. So what I told her, I said, you know, of course we don't know who's going to show up. We don't know exactly what they're looking for, but based on my thoughts, you know, you have to ask yourself, do you want to play it at a couple clicks under tempo of what other people will be playing at and be able to say something musical and be okay with accepting a lower place for this competition, or probably accepting a lower place and
Probably.
playing it your way
Right.
or this way that you feel good about? Or do you want to risk it and keep pushing the tempo and play it really fast, which is what they're listening for, and maybe then place first, or maybe crash and burn? Who knows, right?
Yeah, I
So
don't
I'm
like
not,
risks.
and I'm not trying to tell her she shouldn't. But yeah, if it were me, I would play it. I would be true to myself. Now, would I have done that as a younger player? Probably not. But well, maybe. I don't know. It depends on the day. But it's true. But you know, it's difficult to know how to guide the student. But ultimately, I think I always tell the student, you have to be true to yourself, and I give them the lay of the land and why I'm telling them what I'm very real. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
like
you are.
half the time it's a game anyway, these competitions. It is what it is. All right. Did I answer what you asked me?
Yes, yes, you did. You
Great.
did. But what would you tell somebody who got sick and got behind?
I would tell them, I don't know if you're going to like my answer.
Suck it up.
No, I would not tell them that at all. I would tell them, because I think that might be part of the reason why they got sick.
Because they pushed themselves, maybe?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think in in an audition situation, I would tell them, can we look at what else you're doing other than your time in front of your
You
instrument?
are such a good teacher. Yes. Like,
Thanks.
well, I know you always ask what's going on the outside because that sets you up in how
Yeah.
the lesson is going to go. I mean, first
Right.
5, 10 minutes of each lesson is like, what's going
Yep.
on? How is this lesson going to go? Where's your
Yep.
head?
Right.
And
Exactly.
so that's
Yep.
really good.
Yeah, so I would probably, I mean, illness happens, obviously, but, are you getting your sleep? Are you putting something in your life that you're happy about on a daily basis? Are you fighting with your brother or your friend or whatever? Are
Did
you
you
really
break up with a
stressed?
boyfriend? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember there was one student I had that was having pain, and we whittled it down and we talked through things, and honestly, I think a lot of it boiled back to the fact that he was really stressed about upcoming fast for Ramadan. And
Uh,
once we boiled down what else was going on in his life, he was really stressed about having to keep all of his life going while he was supposed to be fasting. And so we talked about some strategies around that, right? About how to make all of it happen and to be nice to himself, right? But anyway, okay, so, have we covered it? Have we covered what we wanted to
this
cover?
is a lot. I mean,
It's
I'm
a
sure a lot of
lot.
things are going to come up later too, but
Yeah, it's a lot.
this is a lot. So at the end of the day, just, be true to yourself is what we're saying and support your
Yeah,
body
yeah,
because nobody really taught me how to care for my body. They taught me how to
yeah.
play my oboe.
Right.
And I wished my future self, would have really considered there's so many other things going on
Yeah,
besides just what's happening at my read desk.
right.
And it's not the end of the world if it doesn't go your way.
And
It's
realize that
just, it's not.
it's not always you that is in control of it, right? You do the best
And
you
most of the
can.
time, it's not.
Right.
Yeah, you
Do the
can't
best you
control.
can. But you asked about an audition story. So,
Okay, we're gonna close
again,
with this. This is great.
it wasn't my fault. It really wasn't my fault.
I believe you. What wasn't your fault?
I mean, it's one of those things that you like have a nightmare about. You wake up, you have your car packed, everything's ready to go, your car does not start.
That happened at a Christmas gig of mine 2 years ago. Yeah. So what did you do?
I called, luckily, I was a AAA member at the time.
Okay. Okay.
Now I have a husband that is AAA in my house.
Right.
And so I don't need AAA.
She's
But
very
at the
good.
time I had AAA, and so I called them, and luckily it was just easy for them to jump my car, and I was slightly behind where I wanted to be timeline wise. But because I had built in the time, right? But because I had built in the time, and because like I had prepared myself mentally for, I think it's almost like it's a wedding. Something will go not according to plan. So just be cool with it and be all right
Because,
about it. And just almost like when it happens, be like, yes, that's my thing. All right, we're done.
right, check it off. All right,
It's
nothing else
done.
is going to go wrong. Right.
Yeah,
Cool.
something will go awry. So it's okay. It's life, and you just do the best you can, and realize that in the grand scheme of things, the sun will shine tomorrow,
It
and you
will.
will still be your amazing self because your achievement is not your worth. Okay.
I think this is a good time to wrap up. But what we've got some really like other interesting things coming up too. Do you want to just talk about some topics that we're going to be talking about in the next several episodes? Like we have some good ideas on our plate,
We
right?
have a lot of ideas. I don't know what we've focused in on. What are you interested in talking about next?
I think it'd be super cool to talk about different career paths
Absolutely, of course.
besides
Yes.
just winning the audition
Right.
and
I
then
agree.
getting the audition and then finding some students, but like
Totally.
what that could look like. So maybe that should be our next one. We have
Next one?
we haven't talked
Great.
about this obviously, but
No, that sounds good.
cool. All
Yeah,
right.
different perspective, right? All right, cool. All
All
right,
right,
hope
great.
you all have a great day out there, and we will talk to you soon.
All
Bye,
right.
Jalene.
Bye.